the payment calculator, the settlement calculator, in duplum interest, receipt percent to costs, and employer's commission on emolument cashman orders. The payment calculator. The payment calculator is a tool that can be used to calculate how long the debtor will take to pay off a debt in equal monthly installments. The payment calculator calculates collection commission and interest on future payments and shows how many equal payments are necessary for the debtor to settle his debt. You can specify different amounts and analyze the payback period and the costs involved for each scenario. So in other words, you can tell the debtor how long it will take to repay his debt in monthly installments of 500 Rand, for example. And then you can do another calculation straight away to show him how much time and interest he'll save if he repays 550 Rand per month, for example. The repayment calculator can be accessed from the debtor's account by clicking on the repayment calculator icon or by pressing F5 on your keyboard. First of all, you need to select the duration of the repayment period. So how frequently is the debtor going to be making payments? Monthly, every 2 months, every 3 months, weekly, every 2 weeks, or every 6 months? Then you need to fill in the amount that the debtor is going to be repaying monthly. I've said monthly because that's the repayment term that I've selected. And then you need to specify the day of the month that payments will be made on. Obviously, this is important for the calculation of interest. Once you've filled in that information, click on the Calculate button on the right-hand side. And you can see that LegalSuite works out how long it's going to take for the debtor to repay his debt in monthly installments of 500 Rand. And at the bottom of your screen, you can see that it's going to take 24 equal payments of 500 Rand, plus a last payment of 451 Rand 65. Obviously, remember, this does take into account collection commission and interest, but not any further costs that you may debit along the way. As you can see, it shows you the payment transaction, the collection commission, and the interest. In the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you've got an option to print out the repayment calculation. You can choose to insert a letterhead, print a summary only, address the letter to the employer, include the fax number, do not insert a matter description, insert repayment details at the bottom, and insert a signing block at the end. And your destination on the right-hand side, the common one, is Word. When you click on Print, the document is generated into Word for you on your company's letterhead. And at the bottom, you can see the implementation reflects so that the debtor can easily see how long it's going to take him to repay his debt in monthly installments. Reminders can be inserted each month for the duration of the repayment plan. What you do is you click on the Make Reminders button. The program tells you how many reminders were inserted. In this case, 25 reminders were created on the days corresponding with the displayed repayment schedule. And you can see that my file has now been diarized for the next 24 months because reminders have been inserted for the duration of the repayment arrangement. You're also able to print the payment calculation to Excel by clicking on the Excel button. And very important is when you click on Close on the payment calculation screen, a message comes up asking if you want to update the matter with these payment details. The program will then notify you if the debtor pays a different amount. The matter will also appear in management reports showing the promise to pay amount and any corresponding receipts. And you can also set up an employee alert to warn you if a debtor fails to make the promise to pay. So if you click on Yes, when you double click on your matter and you click on the Litigation tab, you can see on the right-hand side here that my matter has been updated with those PTP details as taken from the payment calculation screen. The method of payment is simply how the PTP is being paid, cash, EFT. You've got different options from the drop-down list. If you have a look at your employee alerts under the debt collection tab, you can choose to show all matters with overdue debtor PTPs this period, month. You've got different options from the drop-down list. When you log into LegalSeat, your alerts will then show you how many matters you have with overdue debtor PTPs this month. The promise to pay details on the matter are updated when you exit the payment calculator. And matters with overdue PTPs are brought to your attention, obviously when this option is selected in the employee alerts. Our next topic is the settlement calculator. The settlement calculator works out the amount the debtor will need to pay to settle his account. The settlement calculator takes into account interest that will be charged until the date of settlement. or the current balance and the final payment. You've got your balance at date. So if the debtor wants to come in and settle in a week's time, all you do is you adjust that balance at date. And notice how the balance has increased because the balance at date has been adjusted to a date in the future. This is because interest is worked out to the future date. And obviously the amount shows you collection commission on that payment as well. You can see that it's addressed to the debtor. And it shows the debtor the total due if settled on your specific date that you selected. Bear in mind, though, that if you are using our accounting module, then the bookkeeper would normally capture the receipt from debtor. The only time you would actually use the Insert Transaction button is if you weren't using our accounting module. You've also got an option to charge collection commission on the current balance and the final payment. As you can see, it has exactly the same effect. The only thing the program does is it works out collection commission until the entire balance is paid off. So if you choose to charge collection commission on the final payment, the settlement amount increases slightly. The result is still a zero balance in your debtor's account. And just to give you an explanation of how that charge collection commission on the current balance and the final payment works, collection commission is charged on each payment that the debtor makes, and the settlement calculator works this out for you when you choose to charge collection commission on the current balance and the final payments. As you can see, all the amounts add up. As shown in your Show Totals window. So just to summarize, the settlement calculator allows you to give the debtor a settlement figure, interest is calculated up to the date of settlement, and the collection commission is worked out to arrive at a zero balance. The payment can be inserted into the debtor's account at the click of a button. interest begins to run again until the amount of the capital sum is reached. And then you've got the NCA in Duplum Rule, the National Credit Act in Duplum Rule. Section 103, on a proper interpretation of that section, read with other sections, the amounts contemplated in these sections, which accrue while the consumer is in default, may not exceed in aggregate the unpaid balance of the principal debt when the default occurred. Once the total charges referred to in these sections equal the amount of the unpaid balance, no further charges may be levied. Once the total charges referred to in these sections equal the amount of the unpaid balance, payments made by a consumer thereafter during a period of default do not have the effect of permitting the credit provider to charge further interest while such default persists. And that is the important part right there. So let's have a look at our debtors account and see where these settings are. If you go into your debtors account and you click on the settings button, on the In Duplum settings tab, you can choose to override the In Duplum settings for a particular matter. So in other words, if for this particular matter you wanted to override your program settings, then you would tick the override the In Duplum settings box and choose what you want to apply to. Obviously, if you don't choose to override it, then it's going to use whatever your program setting is set to. If it's an NCA matter, then you would choose to use the new In Duplum Rule. And you can also use a custom expression to define the In Duplum amount for this matter. And thereafter, you can see interest that is raised as 0 because interest has reached the threshold. So once the interest owing, in other words, interest balance, has reached the claim amount, no further interest is charged until the debtor has made sufficient payments to reduce the interest balance to less than the claim amount. Once this occurs, interest will then start running again until it reaches the claim amount. Costs, however, continue to increase the balance owing by the debtor. So you can see that a payment of R1,500 has been made by the debtor. And once the debtor has made a payment that reduces the interest balance to less than the claim amount, interest then starts running again. In a matter where the new NCA rule is being applied, Just to give you a comparison of the old and the new In Duplum rules. With the old In Duplum rule, interest stops running when the interest balance reaches the claim amount. With the new In Duplum rule, interest stops running when the costs plus the interest balance reaches the claim amount. The old rule, fees and costs continue to be debited as normal. With the new rule, any fees or costs will be debited as zero amounts. With the old rule, interest starts running again when the interest balance is less than the claim amount. And with the new rule, interest does not start running again when the interest balance plus the cost balance is less than the claim amount. So what this means under the old rule is that the total interest paid by the debtor may exceed the claim amount. But with the new rule, the debtor will never have to repay more than double the claim amount. In this case, only a portion of the payment will go to costs, and the remainder will reduce the interest and capital balances. If you go into your debtors account and you go into the settings, on the miscellaneous tab, this is where you set your receipt percent to costs. You can set a certain percentage of your receipt that would go to costs, and until date, and you can also choose to pay off a certain amount of costs first. So in other words, you specify the percentage of the receipt amount that must be allocated to the costs balance. So let's see what happens when we capture a debtor receipt. As you can see, the current cost balance is R2,078.22. And we're capturing a receipt for R1,000. If we were not using receipt percent to costs, the cost balance would reduce by the entire R1,000 as payments are allocated first towards costs, then interest, then collection commission, and finally the capital balance. So just to summarize, the receipt percent to costs option allows you to specify a percentage of the debtor's payment that will reduce the costs balance. The remainder of that receipt is allocated towards interest and the capital balance. Your client will therefore receive a portion of each payment rather than having to wait until costs are paid off. is 5%, for doing this. So for example, if the debtor has 1,000 Rand deducted off his salary, the employer takes 50 Rand and pays over 950 Rand to the attorney, who then credits the debtor with 950 Rand. The grey area revolves around the 50 Rand. Our program, and all others we presume, simply ignored this amount. It should actually be reflected in the debtor's account as a payment, although the attorney did not actually receive that money. So the net effect is that the client is credited with 950 Rand, but the debtor's balance is reduced by the full 1,000 Rand, because that is in fact how much he paid. In other words, how much was actually deducted off his salary. Attorneys who do not reflect this in the debtor's account are therefore shortchanging the debtor, and this has become an issue with the Law Society, who are examining many large debt collection practices for these and other irregularities. And if you'd like to read up more on the issue, there is a link here, and you can access this off our website, or you're welcome to email me and I can send you that link. Once you're in the litigation database, click on the emoluments attachment icon. At the bottom of this process, you'll see that you've got a date of first deduction and the employer's commission percentage. The employer's commission will only apply to payments made after the date of first deduction and if there's an employer's commission percentage filled in. So in other words, any payments made prior to the date of first deduction will not attract the employer's commission. Only payments made after that date of first deduction. So if we do the receipt for 950 Rand, as you can see, the receipt automatically appears together with the employer's commission of 50 Rand. So what Legal Suite does is it calculates that amount back, and the debtor's account is then credited with the full 1,000 Rand. So the program automatically calculates back the 5% employer's commission and adds a credit entry for this amount, resulting in the debtor's account being credited with the full amount of the emoluments attachment order deduction. In this case, 1,000 Rand. Collection commission is calculated on the amount that was actually receipted, in other words, 950 Rand. And there's just a calculation of how it's worked out. So just to summarize, if the receipt is captured after the date of first deduction on the emoluments attachment order and the employer's commission percentage is filled in, the employer's commission will automatically reflect with each receipt in your debtors account. The debtor's account is credited with the full amount deducted from his salary. And then just to sum up what we've covered today, repayment calculator is used to assist debtors create repayment plans and gives a reflection of how long it will take to repay the debt in equal monthly installments. The settlement calculator shows the amount payable if the debtor would like to settle his debt in full. In Duplum interest is effortlessly handled by the program. Receipt percentage costs allows you the option of allocating a percentage of a payment towards costs and the balance towards the capital. And Legal Suite ensures full compliance with emoluments attachment orders and employer's commission by crediting the debtor's account with the full amount of the emoluments attachment order. Thank you for listening to my video today.